I've taken upon myself to learn the narratives of the extreme right, the extreme left, and all the different perspectives against the Jewish people, so that when I engage with an individual from that ideology, I know exactly why they've come to those conclusions. A lot of Jews ask me how I remain so calm in conversation. And yes, it has always been in my nature to be a very calm and collected person, but I also understand that the situation I'm dealing with, the person that I'm speaking to that's against Israel and against the Jewish people, it may be the first Jew that they meet in their life. Maybe the last Jew that they meet in their life. And so in that moment, every single one of us that gets into a conversation with someone who is against the Jewish people, we have an inherent responsibility to heal and to correct that relationship that that person has to understanding who the Jewish people are. And so whenever I'm in that situation, I sort of take myself out and I look at that conversation almost as if I was standing from above, and realizing that this moment is not a moment to just get offended and mad and start insulting, because I'm not there for myself. And this person that's saying all these things against the Jewish people, I know that it's not true. So there's no reason for me to get offended. It's more of a reason for me to take the opportunity to correct that situation and to heal that person's relationship with Israel and the Jewish people. Every Jew who's put in this position has a responsibility to stand up for their collective and to remember that whenever you're in a situation like that, there's a reason you're in it. And it's a challenge for you to bring light where there's darkness.
Jews run child rape rings. That's why Donald Trump is president.
So oftentimes when I get into conversations in intellectual and political spaces, people have different definitions. For example, they define Zionism as Palestinian suffering. And they immediately ask me in the conversation, are you a Zionist? And I already know their perspective on Zionism, that it means to them something negative. And if I automatically identify myself as a Zionist, they will see me as that negative thing. When in reality, to me, Zionism means the right for the Jewish people to self-determine on their ancestral homeland, meaning I believe, and other Zionists believe, that Jews should have a right to live there. That being said, because someone takes that same word, those same sounds coming out of our vocal cords, and defines it as something different, I need to be prepared first to repair that relationship to that sound before identifying with the sound. So before even going there, I would ask them, what do you define as Zionism that makes you against it? And then I would hear all the things that they have to say, that Zionism means Palestinian suffering, means all these negative things, and that's where I would correct them and say, listen, I'm against Palestinian suffering. So I should be against Zionism too if that was the case and that was the definition. But Zionism is actually defined as the right for the Jewish people to self-determine. And because I was already able to break down the ideas that I support before labeling myself with a term, it allows for a much more fruitful conversation where we're able to get past the terms and really get to the ideas and see what we truly support and what we don't. And I think in terms of conversation, that's of the utmost importance.
Yeah, the Mori are indigenous.
So why is it a problem if Jews are indigenous to Israel?
Oh, I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying it's a weird definition.
Is it weird when the Maoris say that they're indigenous to New Zealand?
A lot of people ask me all the time, why do you engage with these conversations with these crazy individuals? Well, I don't necessarily think that these people are crazy. I think that they have a different perspective because they've been given a combination of different information that has been contextualized in a way for them to get to a different conclusion. And in order to be able to engage with them, I need to also understand their perspective, which is why over the years, I've taken upon myself to learn the narratives of the extreme right, the extreme left, and all the different perspectives against the Jewish people, so that when I engage with an individual from that ideology, I know exactly why they've come to those conclusions, and I know how to help them not experience my truth as an attack and a replacement to their truth, but my truth as an addition to the truth they already see, and they're able to experience my words as a completion and not as a threat.
You guys kill Palestinian children on a daily basis?
I love you, inshallah.
Inshallah,
People will change and become good humans.
Shalom.
In conversations with them, it usually takes quite a few minutes for tensions to go down and for them to start opening their minds and realizing that the person in front of them is not their ideological enemy. But eventually, many people do get to that point and are then able to have a much more open-minded conversation. I don't know what they think. I don't know what they're going to say. So it's very live, it's very in the moment. Only then do I know what ideological camp they fall in and how to address it. That being said, there's usually a camera. It gives a window for many people, whether Jewish or not, to be able to see that interaction interaction and be able to learn from that interaction. How do you remain confident? How do you remain calm? How do you address someone who's on this extreme or that extreme? And how are you able to make your point for not only the individual to hear you, but the collective to also understand what you have to say?
How about when the Arabs around you, the countries around you, actually proclaim that we need to drive all the Jews into the ocean and kill all of them, and then they actually go and do that, and then what do you do when that happens?
So at this point, you're talking about a hypothetical?
No, that actually happened.
Even if in that very conversation, the person that I spoke to didn't change their minds, it could have planted seeds, right? This person had maybe never experienced a strong intellectual Jew that knows how to make the right points and that is also confident. And that the next time they're going to meet a Jew, they're going to have another reference point to thinking not all Jews are negative or not all Jews are weak. There are clearly others that are respectful and have the courage to be able to address other points. And so oftentimes it's about planting seeds that with time are watered through other experiences, and eventually that can blossom into a proper tree of knowledge that will allow the person to see the Jewish people differently. Many times people that are so convinced of their perspective and that engage all of a sudden with another part of the truth that then allows them to see a much fuller image become many times the more active individuals in changing the false narratives that people have come to because they themselves have fallen victim to it. I myself have engaged with thousands of people in different conversations about Israel and the Jewish people, and even if I don't convince someone in that very conversation, oftentimes I get messages even a year, 2 years, 3 years later of that individual saying, hey, do you remember me from this place? We actually spoke and I didn't agree with you at all, but because of what you said to me, then it made me think of things in a different way, and then I met this person and then I read that and then I saw this information and that led me to a different conclusion, but it took time. So not always are you going to be able to convince and change someone's mind in one conversation. Sometimes you're able to, and there's clearly proof of that in many videos that I have, but sometimes it also takes time. It's important to always be a source of light wherever there is darkness, even if that light takes time to develop.